Good evening, America. Tonight we're talking about artificial intelligence. Specifically, the part where it starts sounding less like innovation and more like Ocean's 11, but with API keys. According to Reuters, Anthropic, yes, the Claude people, says free Chinese AI labs ran what it describes as industrial-scale campaigns to pull capabilities from Claude. What? And when a company that builds AI for a living says, "This doesn't look like normal usage," that's the tech equivalent of your bank account to ask, "So, did you mean to buy 6,000 gift cards at 3 a.m.?" Here's the part that makes your eyebrows leave your face. Anthropic says these labs used about 24,000 fake accounts to generate more than 16 million interactions with Claude. 16 million. That's not a few engineers experimenting. That's we brought snacks, sleeping bags, and a full-time schedule. Anthropic says this violated its terms of service and regional access restrictions because Claude isn't commercially available in China the way it is in the US. So if someone is generating 60 million chats anyway, the obvious question is, how are you getting in? And if the answer involves 24,000 fake accounts, then congratulations, you've invented the world's least affordable bot farm. The technique they describe is called distillation, training a less capable model on the outputs of a stronger one. Distillation itself is widely used in AI, totally normal as the method. But Anthropic is saying these campaigns look like a deliberate capability extraction at scale, not normal customer use. In plain English, this doesn't look like someone using Claude. This looks like someone trying to rebuild Claude. Anthropic says the volume, structure, and focus of the prompts didn't match normal patterns. Translation, this wasn't "help me write an email." This was more like "show your work, explain step by step, give me the playbook." It's the AI version of someone yelling, "Don't just give me the answer, give me your brain." And Anthropic didn't just say, "Hey, something weird is happening." They actually broke down what each lab appeared to be going after. For example, they say DeepSeek seemed particularly interested in reasoning across different tasks, not just answers, reasoning. And also, this is interesting, generating what they called censorship-safe alternatives to politically sensitive questions. You know, the kind of questions about dissidents, party leaders, authoritarian systems, topics that tend to disappear very quickly on certain parts of the Chinese internet. Then there's Moonshot. According to Anthropic, Moonshot was focusing on things like agentic reasoning and tool use. In other words, get an AI to actually do things, write code, analyze data, solve complex problems, run tools, basically act like a very productive junior engineer who never sleeps. And then there's Minimax, which seem to be targeting agentic coding and orchestration, basically getting the AI to coordinate workflows, connect tools, run tasks automatically, the sort of capability companies spend years building into enterprise AI systems. So if you step back for a second, this starts to look less like casual experimentation and more like a very specific shopping list. This isn't someone wandering into the store. This is someone walking in, grabbing the most expensive items on the shelf, and quietly copying the instruction manual before leaving. The DeepSeek detail is doing a lot of work. Censorship-safe alternatives to questions about dissidents, party leaders, authoritarianism. For an American audience, here's what that means. It's not just replicating capabilities. It's potentially replicating capabilities in a way that better serves censorship and control. That's the CCP's favorite product feature, now with 30% more silence. And this came right after an OpenAI reportedly warned US lawmakers that DeepSeek was targeting leading American AI companies to replicate models for training. So, it's not just one company being paranoid. Multiple frontier labs are basically saying, hey, somebody's trying to siphon our model outputs at scale. And if you're wondering why they sound stressed, imagine building a rocket and then seeing someone next door taking photos of every bolt. Anthropic says these campaigns are growing in intensity and sophistication, and the window to act is narrow, which in corporate speak means this is going from annoying to dangerous fast. And you know it's serious when a tech company starts sounding like a disaster movie trailer. Anthropic warns that models trained for this kind of improper extraction may lack necessary safeguards. And if those models get open sourced, the risk multiplies, because then the capabilities spread beyond any single government's control. That's the nightmare scenario. The smartest parts of frontier AI escaping into the wild with fewer guardrails. It's like giving a sports car to someone who removed the brakes because they were slowing me down. Now, why did this connect to the CCP and Chinese government harm to the US? Because in China, the line between commercial AI success and state utility is not a bright line. If frontier-ish capabilities accelerate inside China's ecosystem, Americans have to assume downstream uses can include surveillance, censorship tooling, cyber operations, and military-adjacent applications. In other words, not just competing with a company, competing with a system. What? Your other sources add another key detail. Anthropic said that the access was routed through unauthorized third-party API resellers and proxy services. Basically, a middleman layer that helps you get into services you're not supposed to have. It's like, congrats, you found a guy who can get you into the VIP section. Except the VIP section is America's frontier AI capability. One description floating around was basically a Hydra setup. Lots of accounts spread across keys and infrastructures, so it doesn't look like one obvious firehouse. Because if you do this as one giant pipeline, you get caught. If you do this as 24,000 little pipelines, you're hoping the security team gets tired. And that tactic is so on brand for authoritarian systems. If one door is locked, try every door simultaneously. Here's a hilarious, also alarming anecdote. Moonshot released an open source model and users noticed it sometimes referred to itself as Claude. That's not just a bug. That's an identity crisis with receipts. If your model is introducing itself as your competitor, that's not inspired by. That's, hi, I'm the thing you copied. For Americans, the harm isn't abstract. US companies are spending enormous sums of R&D, compute, talent, and safety because frontier AI is a strategic asset. If competitors can shortcut by harvesting outputs, they reduce the cost of catching up and compress America's lead. That's not just a business problem, that's a national competitiveness problem. Now the story gets even spicier. Another Reuters report says a senior US official believes DeepSeek's upcoming model may have been trained on NVIDIA's most advanced AI chip, Blackwell, despite export controls restricting those shipments to China. Blackwell is not some chip. It's the crown jewel class of compute. So if that's true, the question becomes, where did the crown jewels go? That official suggested the chips were likely clustered at a data center in Inner Mongolia, which is a detail that makes us feel less like tech gossip and more like intel briefing. Because once you start talking about geographic clustering of restricted hardware, you're not in Silicon Valley drama anymore. You're in geopolitical chess. Reuters also said that the US believes DeepSeek might remove technical indicators that would reveal the chips were used. That's a wild sentence because it's basically, if evidence exists, it may be edited, which is a very on-brand approach for a system that treats transparency like a software vulnerability. NVIDIA declined to comment. DeepSeek didn't respond. China's embassy criticized the US for politicizing tech, and overstretching national security, which is always the line. Stop making this political. Buddy, where the CCP is involved, everything is political. That's literally the job description. And here's the most important connection. The officials suggested the model likely also relied on distillation of leading US models. Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, XAI, echoing what these companies have been warning about. So if you have two lanes, lane 1 is get more compute. Lane 2 is extract more capability. And if you can do both, you accelerate fast. That's not just competition. That's a sprint powered by shortcuts. And this is where harm to the United States becomes very direct. First, it compresses the US lead in a strategic technology. Second, it increases the chance frontier capabilities end up in systems tied to surveillance, censorship, and cyber operation. Third, it risks normalizing an ecosystem where rules are treated as obstacles to root around. And when the behavior is backed by a state that views technology as power, Americans should take that seriously. So if you take nothing else from tonight, take this. This is not just free companies being competitive. This is a pattern. Extract capabilities, accelerate development, and build systems that can serve state priorities. And if the CCP wants to compete fairly, they're welcome to do what everyone else does. Build, test, improve. But the moment it turns into 24,000 fake accounts and 60 million chats, that's not a race. That's a raid. Good night.